We have bad news for every Chevy Silverado owner and fan. It seems like this might be the downfall of this legendary truck. Sure, this thing used to be really good, one of the best, but reports are showing the reality of the current state they're in: low reliability scores and lacking quality. They might not be able to hold their beloved reputation so high anymore. Let me explain. But exactly how bad is it? Let's start with the one major thing that people are focusing on these days, even the toughest. Most rugged truck fans are paying close attention to their ride's MPG, thanks to those sky-high gas prices. And let me tell you, the Silverado isn't exactly doing itself any favors in that department. Take a look at the numbers. The base turbo 4-cylinder model only manages around 19 mpg in the city and 22 on the highway. Now compare that to the base offerings from Ram or Ford, and the Silverado just can't keep up. It's a real gas guzzler, and it only gets worse when you start looking at the V8 options. Chevy's V8s are struggling to hit 16 or 17 mpg in the city and maybe squeak out 21 on the highway. Meanwhile, Ram's mighty Hemi V8 is pulling off an impressive 23 mpg on the open road, and Ford's legendary 5L Coyote is getting an amazing 18 mpg in the city and 24 on the highway. The Silverado is really getting left in the dust. The only way Chevy can really hold its own on fuel economy is by going with the diesel engine. Now here, they've seriously amped up the power and torque on that baby, even besting Ram's V6 diesel. But from what I gather, Ram's diesel still has an edge when it comes to highway performance. At the end of the day, it's crystal clear that the Silverado is trailing the competition when it comes to fuel efficiency. And in this day and age, when gas prices are through the roof, that's a major deal breaker for a lot of truck buyers. I mean, who wants to be constantly making pit stops at the pump, especially when you've got a big job to tackle? Speaking of tackling big jobs, that's another area where Chevy needs to step up their game: toughness and off-road capability. For the longest time, they were a little hesitant to really let loose and give us a full-blown, no-holds-barred off-road beast of a pickup truck. Sure, the Trail Boss had some decent upgrades, but let's be real, it was hardly the ultimate thrill ride for adrenaline junkies like us. Let's talk about it in detail. The Chevrolet Silverado ZR2 was here to redefine what it means to be a serious off-road contender, with a formidable lineup of features, including high-performance multimatic dampers and a robust suspension system. This truck is engineered to conquer any terrain. Those aggressive mud tires and dual-locking differentials signal that the ZR2 is not just another pickup, it's a beast ready to tackle the toughest challenges. But here's the thing, while the ZR2 is undoubtedly a force to be reckoned with, it's still rocking the same engine as the rest of the Silverado lineup. Sure, that 6.2 V8 pumps out a respectable 420 horsepower, but when you start comparing it to the competition, it just doesn't quite have that extra power to truly go toe-to-toe with the big boys. I mean, have you seen the insane power of those supercharged V8s in the Raptor and the TRX? Over 700 horsepower, that's just bonkers. And even the new Tundra TRD Pro, with its hybrid system, is putting down an impressive 583 lb-ft of torque. It's like Chevy is holding back. You know they've got the suspension, the off-road chops, and the aggressive good looks, but they just need to let their hair down and give us an engine that can blow the doors off the competition. Can you imagine a Silverado ZR2 with, say, a supercharged V8 that puts out over 700 ponies? Heck, I'd be lining up to get my hands on one of those in a heartbeat. And sure, some folks might say Chevy isn't just about power, it's almost a luxury truck too. But let's talk about that for a sec. The Silverado LT has definitely stepped up its game with a superior interior makeover. Gone is the old, uninspiring cabin, replaced by a fresh, more modern design. It's like trading in a faded prom dress for a sleek tuxedo. The updated materials and overall aesthetic are a significant improvement, no doubt. But let's not forget that the Silverado's true strength lies in its capabilities, not in its interior thrills. This is a workhorse through and through, the kind that will haul your belongings without complaints, even if it doesn't have the softest touch. And you know what they say, better late than never. Chevy has finally gotten their act together and given the old dashboard a much-needed facelift. And let me tell you, the result is nothing short of stunning. Imagine sitting behind the wheel of a Silverado that feels more like you're piloting a spaceship than a truck. It's a real head-turner, I'll give them that. But before you start thinking Chevy solved all their problems, let me pump the brakes for a second. The basic model is still rocking that outdated, subpar interior. And if you want the fancy new look, you've got to fork over some serious cash. And don't even get me started on the materials used in these upgraded interiors. When I'm dropping a ton of money on a new truck, I expect the finest, top-of-the-line materials, you know? But no, Chevy is still cutting corners, and it shows. Compared to the competition, some of these upgrades feel like a total letdown. That's why the Silverado is a real mixed bag, especially when it comes to one major thing: value. Plus, the aesthetics aren't that good. And let's talk about it in detail because these types of things are subjective. Let me break down every feature, and you should just watch carefully. Chevrolet has clearly put in the effort to take the cabin's charm up a notch, but here's the big question: does it really hit that luxury nail on the head, or could it use a little extra polish? Let's take a closer look at the design features that really make the Silverado shine while also pondering a few areas where it might be craving a little extra attention. But here's the thing: when you hit those bigger swerves and potholes, well, let's just say the Silverado is not going to be quite as graceful. It gets a little jolted, you know. But hey, let's be real for a second, no truck is perfect. Not even the mighty Silverado. Take a look at the Ram 1500. For instance, that fancy schmancy multi-link suspension is making waves in the truck world, turning heads left and right. Meanwhile, good old Chevy is sticking with the classic leaf springs. Now, don't get me wrong, leaf springs have a special place in the history books of trucks. They've been reliable workhorses for ages, carrying the load and getting the job done without a fuss. But let's face it, sometimes those leaf springs can be a tad on the bouncy side, especially when your truck bed is empty. And then there's the 150 riding in the same leaf-sprung boat as the Silverado. Somehow, though, Ford's managed to iron out those road bumps a bit better. It's like they've got a secret recipe for smoother rides. But let's get back to the Silverado, because there are way too many things to talk about. When this baby first rolled off the assembly line, there was definitely something a little off about it. I mean, the company was so eager to get it out there that they forgot a pretty crucial detail: updating the interior. The previous Silverado model had its share of issues, some smooth, others a bit clumsy. Imagine the engine doing the limbo with lifter issues. Sure, mechanics can sort it out, but it's not ideal. And on the inside, there are a few hiccups too. Let's start with the base models. These babies come equipped with a classic bench seat that can easily fit 3 grown adults. It's like having your own little diner booth just cruising down the highway. Now, the higher-end trims really take things up a notch, swapping out that bench for a pair of comfy bucket seats. But here's where things take a bit of a turn. The second row in this truck just isn't all that great. If you opt for the double cab model with its extended cab layout, your rear passengers are going to be feeling a bit tight back there. It's like trying to cram a couple of linebackers into a phone booth. Thankfully, the crew cab model swoops in to save the day with its ample legroom in the second row. Now, I know what you're thinking: this must be the ultimate family hauler, right? Well, not exactly. Despite the decent second row space in the crew cab, the rear seats just aren't designed for maximum comfort on those longer hauls. There's a distinct lack of side support, and the overall seating position just feels a bit awkward. It's like trying to sit comfortably on a park bench. You can do it, but it's not exactly relaxing. And to top it all off, the Silverado's rear suspension setup just doesn't seem to be geared toward providing a smooth, cuddling ride for passengers. It's more like a bucking bronco than a luxury sedan. I don't know what they were thinking when designing this thing, but the truth is this is just the tip of the iceberg.